The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Friday in the Riv.
It's the end of the week. Thank God it's Friday.
Live from the Riv. It's Spindle City Straight Talk. And, well, we've got a few things that not...
Well, I've got a little bit of an update on that housing authority crisis that they're having where
Yes.
They said they never filed the DH, whatever it was, the family housing plan. Well, that plan was actually written by a city official and given to the housing authority, and they never used it.
Well, that begs the question, what are city officials writing plans for people who are employed to do that for, correct? Again, we have people being paid for, and they do nothing, and when they don't do anything, they hire them a consultant to do the work. So now we not only have the housing authority who didn't do their job and now gets a consultant to help them do their job, and no consequences for their actions, and no accountability for the fact that they've been paid, like our maintenance departments. Again, we have a situation where we not only have the housing authority, now we've got the city involved. The city's doing the work for the housing authority. So, you know, again, government at its finest, just all that is a giant trough where they drown themselves in it, sucking out the money and doing absolutely nothing.
Let me tell you something. Pigs don't eat as much out of the trough as this.
Yeah, and you know, CJ, it's funny. You know, I'm glad you kind of brought that up because now it segues into one of these articles I'm looking at. Fall River is seeing higher rate of tax collection. You know, this says a lot about the state of the mentality in this city. We actually made a story out of a tax collector collecting taxes. They're so happy that we're collecting more of our taxes. Isn't that what they were employed to do? Aren't they supposed to do this?
I guess.
It's like, but we've got a story. This is big news. They're patting themselves on the back. We're collecting more than normal. Where before we didn't collect any. You didn't pay your taxes, to hell with it. 5 years later, 10 years later, you still haven't paid your taxes, and nobody cares. But I'll bet you one thing, nobody in that office in the past 20 years has missed a paycheck.
Of course not.
So, you know, again, the total absurdity of government, again, big government is nothing more than a corporate welfare system for politicians and their political hack friends. So, you know, it's mind-boggling that, you know, this is a big deal. They're working diligently for tax collection. They're supposed to do that in the first place, aren't they?
I think so.
Try not to pay your mortgage. See how long it takes the bank to get on you. And they'll call you in, and they'll give you an opportunity to pay. They'll set up a different plan. They'll work with you if they can, because they don't want to have to repossess and have that house to deal with. But then if you don't, you're done. See you later. Bye. And we've had people who owed hundreds of thousands of dollars in back taxes. And how long did it take them to begin?
Way too long.
It's like a violation of a fire code. If they violate a fire code, they're taken to court. Because that's what's supposed to happen. If they don't rectify the situation, they're brought to court and forced to. Well, guess what? If you don't pay your taxes, you should be held accountable. And, you know, this is an ongoing situation. And again, this again highlights what we talked about in the Housing Authority. Them not doing their jobs, and what do? They get a consultant. What happened in Dominion? We couldn't find the date. We couldn't find the date.
And that CJ guy had to stick it right in their face.
CJ found it in 6 seconds on the phone, and we were reading the letter that they were supposed to have gotten. And by the way, they did get it. And they ultimately, I believe, admitted it. And it just, oh, well, so what was the solution to that problem of incompetency? Give them all pay raises and hire another lawyer.
That's right.
And then hire some outside lawyers. And by the way, our law department does virtually nothing, because anytime there's any kind of case that has any kind of work attached to it, besides adjudicating potholes, they hire outside firms. Who did the arbitration against the police? Not the city of Fall River. An outside.
It's an outside law firm.
Yeah, outside attorneys. Who, you know, when they appealed Dominion, they hired outside lawyers. We elect a charter commission. We elect Fall River people to write a charter for Fall River, and they hire an outside consultant, which still disturbs me, because they should have all been unelected, but except for one who was adamantly opposed to hiring the consultant. And we all know who that is, the only guy that opposed virtually everything, and now he is proven to be right, Dan
Once
Robillard.
again.
Dan Robillard, once again. But, I mean, that's it. You know, it's the incompetency upon incompetency upon incompetency. And then we get stories where they actually applaud them for doing their job.
Hey, maybe they'll get a raise.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, no, they'll get even a bigger raise. They were going to get a raise anyway, but now that they actually, did something, they'll get even a bigger raise. So, read the, I mean...
Don't even bother reading the article.
Don't even bother reading the article. Maybe call up the government center and ask why that we're making a big deal out of our government collecting back taxes. That's what they're supposed to do.
You mean to tell me you really want people to do their job?
Well, apparently in this city, you're rewarded for not doing it, because if you don't do your job, you get a pay raise and somebody else to do it. They'll either hire you an assistant or 2 assistants, or they'll give you a consultant.
And coming up on Monday at the Ordinance Committee, there's more assistants to the assistants to the assistants.
That's right.
And being put in ordinance again.
That's right. And let's see what the council does with this one. Again, more, whatever happened to small government, cut the fat, bare bones, lean government. See, remember, we used to hear that, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when actually we still had some of the people who used to work in Fall River and were median income before they all moved to Somerset and Swansea and Westport and Dartmouth, because those people would vote people out of office.
That's right.
City councilors and mayors used to quake in their boots. They didn't dare ever raise taxes in an election year, and most of the time they wouldn't raise taxes unless it was absolutely necessary. Hate to tell you, but that's the way government is supposed to run. And but it's the fault of the people. We hear the complaints all the time. And the people we normally hear the complaints from are not the people who are causing the problem, because the people we hear from normally go to vote. It's the 80% of the people, or more, that don't show up. Gone are the days of 70, 75% turnouts in elections. Now we get 14, 11, 18. They make a big deal out of 18. And then you wonder why this thing's a catastrophe on every level.
Did you hear what the state solution to that was? Automatic voter registration. Anytime you have any type of interaction with a state agency, you are automatically registered to vote, unless you opt out.
Oh, good. So that means that instead of 40,000 out of the 48,000 people not showing up. We can have 80,000 out of the 88,000
Exactly.
not show up. What good does being registered to vote do if you don't vote?
It increases the jury pool.
Yeah, and it also reduces the turnout even more, because now remember, if we double the number of voters, instead of having an 11% turnout, we're going to have a 5.5%
Exactly.
turnout. So, I can even do that math in my head. So it's even more abysmal. But our next story. Manufacturing company withdraws plans from the biopark. Why would anybody withdraw anything from Fall River? Maybe they've been watching the news and watching the shootings and the overdoses and all the issues.
Well, according to the article.
Yeah, I know the excuses.
Yeah,
but go ahead. Give me
according to the article, they bought another company.
Yeah,
and so they have to wait before they can revisit this.
Oh, yeah. And you know what saying that we'll revisit that is in corporate lingo? It's like, see you later, bye.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the mayor was against this company coming in.
We'll be back when hell freezes over.
The mayor was against this company coming in.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing that gets me. The redevelopment authority met Wednesday. Carlos and I were both there. And they went into executive session to discuss this because it's a real estate transaction, and it allows them to discuss it. But it wasn't a real estate transaction. It was a withdrawal of a bid for it. It should not have been covered under executive session. Therefore, what did they do? They potentially violated the open meeting law again, like they care.
Yes, like they care, exactly, and they did. But when you mention the mayor, I have the quote from him, which shows how, like I said, talk about convoluted perspective.
Exactly.
And how politicians try to twist everything to their own. Mayor Jazel Correa II objected to the proposal when it aired in April. Quote, this is Jazel's quote, "We have to look at the fact that they are taking remaining acreage in a biopark with only a quarter of the jobs of Amazon," he said in April. A quarter of the jobs?
And he can't do math.
Okay, a quarter of the jobs. A quarter of the total jobs. What do we got, 26 people from Fall River employed at Amazon?
Probably.
Oh, let's round it off.
Let's make it 30.
let's make it 30, or even better. We've got let's make it 28. So if we make it 28, if they created 7 jobs, they would have created as many jobs for Fall River residents as Amazon has. You see, again, a politician manipulating fact for themselves.
Well, and actually, he can't.
He will talk about 1,000 jobs, thousands of jobs, and nobody will say, how many from Fall River?
Right.
Show us. Oh, we can't do that. No, we're not going to do that. It's from the. Well, guess what? You're the mayor of Fall River. You're not the mayor of Freetown or Sonnet, New Bedford, or wherever all these other employees came from. And most of their executives, I'm sure, are from out of state.
Right.
Because they came along with the company. There's nobody getting a big paycheck from Amazon in the industrial park that's was a Fall River resident before Amazon got here. And this is just, again, manipulation of fact, and it's just crazy.
But you got to look at this. The mayor can't even do math. This manufacturing company wanted to bring in 500 jobs. According to the mayor, Amazon brought in 1,500. That's a third, not half.
Well, 1,500, but that's been cut since.
Oh, yeah,
so
exactly.
Probably down to 1,000, but like I said, let's do the math. Even if he gave them and forgave them, the fact is that they've created 1,500 jobs, and less than 50 of them of people from Fall River. So let's do that ratio and proportion. So if this company creates 500 jobs, and they've put 100 people out of that 500, they've doubled the amount of jobs that Amazon's created, Fall River people.
Well, the interesting part about it is...
But this is all academic. It's a moot point because they're not coming. So.
But, the thing is that they were all hush-hush about who the company was and what was going to happen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then all of a sudden, they're not coming. And they're still not saying what the company was. Why not? What's the big secret?
They might not revisit.
Yeah, they're not going to revisit us at all.
Of course not. We know that. But
I can see the chairman of the board now looking at this. Hey, where can I get some heroin? Go down to Plymouth Avenue. There's a guy standing out there saying homeless.
I know it's crazy, but I probably watch the news too much. It makes me crazy, and I watch stuff and it's on TV, and I walk in the room and I two things that really disturbed me today, and that shows one of the reasons, in my opinion, and it's my opinion, this country is going to hell in a handbasket. A federal judge ordered a illegal immigrant.
Oh, yes, I saw that story.
They ordered them to turn the plane around and bring back the illegal and her daughter. And he said if they didn't, he was going to hold the Attorney General of the United States in contempt of court.
And the Department of Homeland Security.
Why? Why? Because they had suffered domestic abuse in Colombia, I believe.
El Salvador or something
El Salvador, like that. Colombia. Yeah. It's irrelevant. It's not the United States. They're illegal. Because the countries it doesn't make any difference because they come from everywhere. Here's a judge that I'm sure is making, federal judge, he's got to be making $250,000 easy. Works about 4 hours a day, 3 days a week. And he's gonna tell the federal government to turn around because this woman suffered domestic abuse. How much is that going to cost us? And now if we're going to take in everybody from every other country that has suffered domestic abuse, what are we going to do about the domestic abuse in the United States? How many women's shelters in this country are barely getting by? They're on the verge of closing. They don't have enough money to give the people who suffer domestic abuse in the United States what they really need. We're not taking care of our own people, and we got this libtard judge who got a political appointment, no doubt, having a plane turned around and telling the Attorney General, well, you got to do it my way because this is my personal philosophy. He is not applying the law as far as I'm concerned. I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not a judge. But forgive me for thinking that a judge is bound to apply the law. If this person was an illegal and was duly deported because she was an illegal, what right does he have to impose his personal philosophy and have that plane turned around and threaten the Attorney General and Homeland Security with contempt of court? Well, I have contempt of judge in his case. And that's what's wrong here. We've got this stuff going on every single day. You turn around, and after watching that and getting nauseous, what do I see? I forgot the name of the show. I hate it. I turn it off every time I walk back into the living room because it comes on right after the news that I watch.
Extra?
No, I think it's a medical, like a medical talk show. They had a woman from Nevada and a woman from Newton, and they were discussing the fact that the woman from Nevada said that now there's a big move to make sure that people who have head lice or body lice or lice period, there's a movement to allow them to stay in school for the rest of the day and finish the school day because it may disturb the snowflakes that they're being singled out. Well, you don't have to say you're sending them home because they got head lice, but let's leave them in school to infect the 3 people in the school that they haven't infected with lice. You know, political correctness at its most absurd. So what's the next step? If somebody walks into the school with bubonic plague, we let them stay there?
Hey, why not let them stay with Ebola?
Yeah, the hell. We might as well, because, you know, the hell with the health of people.
Who cares?
You know, if one of my children was in that school and in a different classroom, and then they ended up with head lice because this kid was running around at recess spreading the lice, I would be a little upset, because this is absurd. You know, it's got nothing to do with the child. It may have something to do with the environment at home. But send the kid home. Make sure they don't come back until they're cured. And then you have to alert the parents. But I mean, just the fact that discussion took place is mind-boggling. It's like, what next? What next? I mean, we definitely have to eliminate long prison sentences and the death penalty, because I'm sure those criminals and murderers will feel singled out by having those harsh sentences. So I don't know. It's just that this place is getting. I'm glad that I won't be around in another 50 years, because I'm going to hate to see what we've devolved into when we have this kind of stuff going on every day.
Well, you know, Chip, talking about this.
That's the reason I cut my hair like this, you know?
Yeah, unless you got one of those big ones that, you know, like a lobster.
That's right. It's like, yeah. But they're easily detectable on my head.
Yeah.
So.
Well, just to get back to that deportation order.
Yeah.
This is pretty outrageous, said U.S. District Judge Emmett G. Sullivan. He said, after being told about the removal, that someone seeking justice in U.S. court is spirited away while her attorneys are arguing for justice for her. I'm not happy about this at all, the judge continued. This is not acceptable.
And I'm glad he said that, because you hear what he said? I'm not happy.
That's right.
He's not happy. He's applying his philosophy on a judicial opinion, which you're not supposed to. You're supposed to rule on the rule of law as a judge.
Right.
And the law, she was legally deported. Now, but maybe he doesn't like the fact that she was deported, but he has no right to misapply the law. Just as many years ago, when Mike Dukakis was running for president. He was the governor of Massachusetts at one time. And the state of Massachusetts voted in a referendum on the death penalty, and he vetoed it, and after his veto, it was defeated, because some few people flipped. And when he ran for president, I actually had a discussion with him, because a very close friend of mine was a big supporter of Mike Dukakis. And he said, I hope I can get your support. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't support you for president. He said, why not? I said, because the people of Massachusetts voted for the death penalty. And I understand, and you have every right to be opposed to the death penalty. However, that's your personal opinion. But as the governor, I said, you are bound. You know what I said he was bound by?
Yep.
The Commonwealth of Massachusetts' Constitution. I said, part of the first, Section 5, Article 5. And I said, it says that you are at all times answerable to the people, and you are our agents and our substitutes. And you applied your personal philosophy to block the will of the people. So as far as I'm concerned, you shouldn't even be governor, let alone president. You didn't take it very well, but I had the opportunity to finally say that to a politician. It was the one and only time I really got to sit down with somebody who was in fairly high office, a governor, running for president, and actually articulate my opinion, not in a letter that one of his aides will read and throw in a barrel. I actually sat in front of him and told him that. But, you know, this is one of the problems that we have. we only apply laws and anything that we want to apply, you know, be it our charter, be it the Constitution of the United States, be it the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, or the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia, or the state of Ohio. Politicians have discretionary authority, in their opinion, to apply laws and abide by the constitutions that they are sworn to uphold and the charters they are sworn to uphold. If it interferes with their own personal feeling or their, you know, or their political philosophies, and that's just wrong. It's un-American. That's not what this country was created for. We fought a revolution to be able to determine our own destiny and have our representatives answerable to us. Because guess what? We've replaced King George with fill in the blank.
King whoever.
Mayor Jazel, King Jazel Correa II, King Mike Roderick, King Donald Trump, King Pocahontas or Queen Pocahontas. Fill in the blank. It doesn't make any difference. They do whatever the hell they want. And why can they do that? Because we elect them.
It's ridiculous.
I can guarantee you, if we got rid of our senators after a maximum of 2 terms, everybody would be up there, and when you walked in a room as a voter, they would snap to attention. Right now, you got to go there and kiss their ring to get an audience.
And that's the sad part about it. That truly is the sad part about it. And then when you go up to Boston, for instance, and you see them, they can't be bothered to see you. They're walking around chit-chatting with some of their colleagues, and they see you, and they walk right by you. Luckily, that's never happened to me because I get right in their face. You know me, but
yeah, you chase them. That's why, but you got to chase them.
I don't chase them. I step in front of them.
You got to be prepared for a workout when you go up there. You got be, you know, because you got to find them first because they hide very well up there.
The State House is a pretty big building, and there's a lot of places to hide when you want them.
Yeah, and it's a really, you know, the way it is, the floors in it. There's little alcoves everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Little side stairways and back stairwells, and so they can be hard to track down intentionally.
Just to get back to that deportation bit, you want to hear why this deportation happened?
Yeah.
The woman known in court papers as Carmen is a plaintiff in a lawsuit filed by, guess who? The American Civil Liberties Union. It challenges a recent policy change by the Justice Department that aims to expedite the removal of asylum seekers who fail to prove their cases and excludes domestic and gang violence as justifications for granting asylum in the United States. It's a policy change. But how come every time there's a policy change, the ACLU is going to jump in?
Because that's what they do best, and that's what our country does. So let's look at this from a realistic perspective. What they're saying is, if you're an illegal, if you weren't born in this country, if you didn't work and pay taxes your whole life, if you're exposed to gang violence, you can get asylum, and they'll take care of you. If you're exposed to domestic abuse, well, I'm going to tell you what right now. We got gang violence in Fall River. I'm filing for asylum in Newton.
There you go.
I'm an American citizen. I've worked my entire life and paid taxes. Why can't I get an asylum? Buy me a $1 million house in Newton where there's no gang violence, government. ACLU, where are you for me? Nowhere.
They never are either. That's the sad part about it. We always seem to lose. Well, people, that's our show. Have a great weekend. It's going to rain, but hey.
Spindle City Straight Talk's looking for asylum in Newton.
So make sure you let them know we're looking for asylum. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. And remember, stay angry, people.